Oh, big yawn. What do you think? What did you think of VCU's performance? His favorite player is Lazar Djokovic. Hey guys, I'm Zach Joachim. This is On the Horn. After VCU beat LaSalle 77-68 tonight, behind a career high 26 points from Lazar Djokovic to move to 19-6 on the season, 10-2 in A10 play, sole possession of second place. After George Mason lost at Richmond on Tuesday night to open the door for VCU to move into that second place spot in the A10. Rams have won 8 in a row. This was a pretty comprehensive win. VCU led for 33 plus minutes by as much as 13, but LaSalle refused to go away and hung around behind Rob Dockery, who scored a team high 17 points. I'm going to start with Lazar Djokovic because I feel like he's got to be the story of tonight. Because the Explorers just had no answer for him in the post. He was 10 of 17 from the floor. They just did not have the size and strength down low to deal with the 6'11", 235-pound Serbian big man. And he went to work in the post all night playing bully ball. Nick Lewis, really outstanding game for the freshman, and that's good to see after he struggled in recent weeks, kind of hit that freshman wall in conference play, but he had 11 points, team high 11 rebounds. He's an outstanding rebounder from the guard position. He also tied the team high with 4 assists. Terrence Hill also had 4 assists. Hill, 14 points. Jadrian Tracy, 14 points. Tracy was 6 of 13 from the floor, 2 of 7 from 3. Brandon Jennings, 8 points, 2 of 3 from 3, and he had a couple really big threes in this game. Brandon also 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, did a little bit of everything. Mike Bell scored just 2 points, but he had 4 blocks. One of them a really key block in the final sequences as VCU held on to win this game. Bell also 7 rebounds, really contributed on the glass and defensively. And VCU, again, led for 33 plus minutes by as much as 13 in that second half. We'll get into the sequences here in a second. Harvey, what are you doing? He's moving the table around down here. Anyway, LaSalle led 4-1 early on. And then a Lewis tip-in on a Djokovic miss made it 5-4. VCU with 16:40 to play in the first half, and that was their first lead. Then they kind of steadily stretched that out throughout the first half. It got to 13-10 on a Jadrian Tracy catch-and-shoot 3 between the top of the key and the left wing. That was off a Nick Lewis assist with 14 minutes to play. Then Djokovic playing some bully ball in the post, finished off glass through contact for 15-10 at the 13:22 mark. And then a Barry Evans alley-oop slam off a Terrence Hill lob. That was one of the fun highlights of the night. That made it 17-10 VCU with 12:41 to play until halftime. But then LaSalle, as they did all night, fought back and kind of stayed within striking distance. VCU kept trying to gain some real separation here and make this one comfortable, and LaSalle wouldn't let them do it. A Daniel finish on the left block made it 19-17 VCU with about 10 minutes to play in that first half. And then where is it? I want to say, 29-21 was VCU's largest lead in that first half after an incisive drive from Jennings and a finish off glass with his left hand at the 6:09 mark. And then LaSalle responded with a spurt of its own that was capped by a Marshall Trey on the right wing that rattled in with a friendly roll, made it 29-28 with 4:04 to play until halftime. And then a really big run for VCU to close the first half. Feels like they've done that a few times this season in a game that was kind of back and forth. Because LaSalle had a 31-29 lead. And an Ashton Walker behind the back dribble and a pull-up jumper at the foul line off a VCU turnover. VCU turned the ball over, what was it? Was it 13 times tonight? Let me pull that up. That's definitely the glaring negative from this game. And where is it? VCU 13 turnovers, leading to 19 LaSalle points. And LaSalle only turned the ball over 6 times. And for a team that really has a limited amount of ball handlers, Phil Martelli said that in the post-game conversation with Robbie and Rodney, that we should have turned that team over more. So VCU really did not get many chances to get out and run with the fast break points. Only 3 fast break points for VCU. So that's surprising after they were so good in that department, being able to turn Fordham and Dayton over and get out and run last week. They weren't able to do that tonight at LaSalle. LaSalle was able to play this game, I think, at a pace that more suits them. But anyway, after the Explorers took that 31-29 lead a little bit before halftime, Djokovic drive from the right wing, finish off glass, that's 31 up. And then a thunderous Djokovic step through and two-handed slam off a Hill assist for 33-31 with 1:39 to play until halftime. That's another one of the standout highlights from the night. And then Djokovic, strong move on the right block, finished off glass for 35-31 and Hill beat the halftime buzzer with a mid-range jumper on the right elbow for 37-31 to conclude an 8-0 Rams run headed into halftime. LaSalle got it down to 3 points there early in that second half, but then Jennings and one of those big threes on the night. This one was in the right corner, catch and shoot off a Lewis assist. Looked like LaSalle kind of sagged off and dared him to shoot it, and Brandon made him pay for it. That made it 42-36 VCU with 16:48 to play. And then Djokovic, catch and shoot three on the left wing for 45-38. When he's playing like that on the inside and then able to step out and hit threes, he's an incredibly difficult matchup for any opposing big man. That made it 45-38 with 16:03 to play. Came off a Jennings assist. And let me get to that run that VCU was really able to build a sizable lead here. Yeah, Nick Lewis, acrobatic finish off glass through contact, plus the foul, and he hit the free throw for an and one. That made it 52-44 with 13:22 to play. And then a Lewis strip steal led to a Michael Bell rebound and put back off a Hill miss for 54-44 with 12:59 to play. That at the time was the largest lead for VCU, forced a LaSalle timeout. Djokovic tied his career high when he made a free throw for 55-46. And then a couple minutes later, where's the 63 points? Yeah. A Jennings pull-up tray between the top of the key and the right wing made it 66-53 with 6:08 to play, and that was the largest lead for VCU. And it kind of felt like the Fordham and Richmond games a little bit. Robbie and Rodney said that in the broadcast because the ESPN broadcast, I saw a lot of people complaining on Twitter about that. It was not great. It was very LaSalle-centric. They were confusing a lot of VCU players throughout it. And so I think most people sitting and listening from Richmond turned on Robbie and Rodney and put the game broadcast on mute. But it's a 13-point VCU lead with 6:08 to play, and you're hoping at this point that they're going to be able to stretch it out a little bit and make it comfortable. But then Walker catch and shoot three on the left wing for 66-56, and Dockery, who was really good in that second half, helped LaSalle kind of chip away. And they get it all the way down to 71-66 after Dockery hit a couple of free throws with 2:40 to play. And I wrote tenuous angst on my play-by-play here, and I think Robbie and Rodney used the word tenuous as well because it felt kind of tenuous at that point. But then VCU got a big stop and a Hill feed to Djokovic on a pick and roll. Lazar finished through contact on the right block for 73-66, and I felt like that was kind of the dagger with 1:47 to play. Dockery driving layup for 73-68 was LaSalle's last bucket, and then Phil Martelli called a timeout. And then a Terrence Hill offensive rebound on a missed three from Jennings. It looked like LaSalle might have a run-out opportunity there, and VCU kind of got bailed out by the foul. And it was the fifth on Dockery, so he was done there. Terrence went to the line, hit two clutch free throws for 75-68, and then a Brandon Jennings block on a LaSalle three, a turnover where Marshall stepped on the sideline with 43 seconds to play. Again, VCU 16 offensive rebounds, really great activity on the glass tonight with 44 seconds to play. Hill hit a couple more clutch free throws for 77-68 in the final margin, and then Bell got a key block in the final stages there to help VCU see it out. Despite the turnovers, again, pretty comprehensive win for VCU. LaSalle hung around, but Rams get the job done. They shot 48.3% from the field, finished with, a 40-32 edge and points in the paint. That was really led by Djokovic. Looking at all the other stats here, VCU 8 blocks tonight. Again, the 13 turnovers are your big glaring negative. Largest lead was 13 points, led 83.6% of the game. 5 lead changes, 4 ties, all of them in the first half. So VCU was kind of able to keep LaSalle at arm's length throughout that second half. Rams shot 8 of 20, that's 40% from beyond the arc. And they win their 8th straight. And they'll carry that winning streak with them to Richmond on Saturday at Robins Center. And the Spiders certainly fired a warning shot with that win over George Mason last night. That's not going to be an easy game for VCU. But they've got a ton of momentum. I won't get into all that large conversations here. Phil Martelli and co are just focused on winning conference game number 11 right now. But I think in Joe Lenardi's latest bracket projection, VCU was in the next 4 out. They do probably have to win at St. Louis to get in that large. I think that's the realistic perception of it because you have no bad losses if you're VCU, but you don't have that big quad one, hang your hat on it, win, and go into Chaifetz Arena. Next Friday will certainly be an opportunity for that. But a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago, I was talking about the potential for a 10-game win streak that they could carry to St. Louis with them because it looked like that was the stretch that the schedule really got soft. and VCU has been able to beat all the teams that it should. Some of them have been nervy. You know, you had the really dominant performance against Dayton on Friday that it felt like had been coming for a while when VCU put together a full 40 minutes. And now you've won 8 in a row. You got tons of momentum to carry 2 Robins on Saturday. Then they host George Washington next Tuesday. The big question mark for that game, I think, will obviously be Rafael Castro's health. He's missed some games for G-Dub recently as they've been on a bit of a skid. But that won't be easy. That's a good G-Dub team. And that's the last game before that huge trip to St. Louis that I think everyone's trying not to look ahead to right now because VCU is obviously going to take care of business at Robins against the Spiders and then against the Revolutionaries. I always want to call them the Colonials, still the old mascot, on Tuesday. But yeah, VCU 77, LaSalle 68. Lazar Djokovic career high 26 points, definitely the story. His dominance on the inside is what helped VCU keep the Explorers at arm's length all night. And the Rams are in second place in the A10. They are 19-6, 10-2 in A10 play, and I've got a world of momentum right now. I'm Zach Joachim. This is On the Horn. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I've got the story posted right now, and I'll get On the Horn connected to it in a second here. And I will see y'all on Saturday at Robins Center for Valentine's Day Capital City Classic. Peace, guys. Harvey, say bye-bye. Harvey, say bye.